Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast, where we'll explore happiness at work and show you how to coach yourself to be happier there and more successful too, no matter what.
Hello everyone, I'm Julia Seal and welcome to today's coaching on our midlife happiness and success. How are you? Where are you on the happiness ladder right now? Top? Middle? Bottom? Did you enjoy revisiting this coaching tool last week? I hope so. Remember, you can join me on social media every day to talk happiness or subscribe to my coaching emails on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. And if you connect to me there, we use my happiness ladder together every week. We have TGIM and Friday, and that's when we get together on Mondays and Fridays to track and assess our happiness. This week, we're going to revisit one last tool in our defining, assessing, and visioning journey. We've looked recently at our defining tool, our pasts, in episode 1.46, our assessment tool last week in episode 1.47, and now we're going to deepen how we access the wisdom of ourselves from the future. And I've also got some special coaching for you this week. We're celebrating 2 birthdays this month. So birthdays and birthday presents first. July is the birthday of 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners, 2 men who have made enormous contributions to the world and who are the inspiration for Happiness Matters. The Dalai Lama turned 85 yesterday, and later in the month is the birthday of the late Nelson Mandela and Mandela Day. I thought I'd share 2 of my favorite quotes from them with you. Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama, was born 85 years ago in Tibet. His 60-year exile in India has actually been the greatest gift to us, the world, as his joy, compassion, and wisdom and laugh is available to us all across the world anywhere and at any time. This weekend I watched a new movie about his life called The Great 14th, in his own words, and I'll link to this in the show notes for this episode for you. This from him. Every day, think as you wake up. Today, I am fortunate to be alive. I have a precious human life. I am not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I am going to have kind thoughts towards others. I am not going to get angry or think badly about others. I am going to benefit others as much as I can. Then from Nelson Mandela, South Africa's much-loved Madiba, activist, statesman, and visionary of South Africa as the Rainbow Nation. Action without vision is only passing time. Vision without action is merely daydreaming. But vision with action can change the world. Mandela Day on the 18th of July is a United Nations International Day to honor his legacy through volunteering and community service. So people all around the world give 67 minutes of their day to fight poverty and promote peace, reconciliation, and cultural diversity. This year, his foundation has requested us to focus our efforts on education, food, and nutrition as the world is facing intersecting struggles and challenges: the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic implications, anti-racism protests around the world, and a surge in gender-based violence here at home. So to honor the Dalai Lama and Nelson Mandela, as I do every year in July, I am offering you a session of free coaching from me. An individual coaching session to get you started on your midlife happiness journey. What's your next step? And you can book this free session with me by visiting Happiness-Matters.coach and clicking on the yellow button, Coach with Julia. This will bring up my online calendar and you can book a session immediately. Now, if you do want to coach with me for longer, you can book a shorter insight session where we can explore what's going on for you now and how I can help you. Now is the time for sure. we're into the second half of this extraordinary 2020. Yep, we're past the June equinox. So this week is also a good time to re-look at the happiness goals we've chosen, maybe even to look back at our 2020 New Year's resolutions. Remember those? If you're in the Northern Hemisphere and enjoying your summer while taking care through COVID, this is a great time to think about the next 6 months while enjoying the sun over a glass of bubbly. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you can do this cocooned by the fire with red wine. Today's tool is perfect to inspire you to pivot your focus and get you back on track. This week is also the 30-year anniversary of the first Back to the Future movie. I'm sure you remember this classic time travel adventure comedy from the 80s with Doc and Marty. Great Scott! Since it's winter here in Cape Town and we're heading into the peak of our pandemic, we're staying home as much as we can. We're watching old movies by the fire and eating popcorn. And I thought this was such a good illustration of what we're talking about here today, traveling through time to re-look at our pasts and what we can learn from our history, thinking about the legacies of Mandela and the Dalai Lama, traveling to the future to think about the end of COVID-19, what's next for us and the world, if there really is going to be a new normal. Backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards. And there's certainly enough ticking clocks to help you. If you don't know the movie, it is time to watch it and relish the flashbacks to Huey Lewis and the News singing The Power of Love, to what we were wearing in 1985, and to the difference between old, dull parents in midlife, that's us now, and young, excited teenagers just about to start their lives, which is us then, and our children now. As US President Ronald Reagan said in his 1986 State of the Union address, "Never has there been a more exciting time to be alive, a time of rousing wonder and heroic achievement." As they said in the film Back to the Future, "Where we're going, we don't need roads." Let's get started. We might not have roads to the future now, just like Doc and Marty, but we certainly have some free coaching tools to help us on our journey. Think of them as your own DeLorean, very cool sports car. In the core episodes of Series 1, episodes 1.1 to 1.6, I took you through the basic defining, assessing, and visioning process that's at the heart of the Series 1. Everything since then has been to add depth and give you ideas on each of these 3 areas. In those episodes, I introduced you to 2 of my coaching tools, future visioning and your future self journey. Today, I want to remind you about these, but actually, I'm going to focus in on just one aspect of one of them, one aspect on your future self journey. So first of all, remember to download these free tools, both of them, from our website under Free and Fun. If this is the first time that you're joining us, don't be put off because I'm revisiting coaching we've done. Start with us here right now. There's more than enough to get you started thinking about your happiness and success in your midlife. And today's tool is particularly useful for newcomers. Your future vision is the coaching tool I created for you to go with episodes 1.3 and 1.4. Where do you want to be? And going deeper into your 10 out of 10 happiness. The tool takes you on a visioning journey to discover where you want to be in your future. Your 10 out of 10 happiness and success no matter what. Your goal of coaching, in other words. In the 10 steps, we start by capturing your current dream, expand this using brainstorming and vision boarding techniques, and then explode this out even further by leveraging our 3 happiness wisdom concepts, the happiness paradox, the hedonic treadmill, and yin-yang, life is 50-50. So we're thinking outside the box, dreaming up the impossible, seeing beyond your usual goals and dreams. and we're withholding all inner criticism for now, adding insights from the top 4 academic frameworks of happiness, and then applying wisdom from the science of happiness, all in one coaching tool. This is a fantastic tool, and I'm very excited for you to revisit it from our early session and see what you come up with now that I've gone into detail on all these topics to help you develop your most inspirational vision of your midlife what's next, your happiness at work, in your relationships, and inside yourself. Our focus today comes out of the coaching tool I created for you to go with episodes 1.5 and 1.6. What's stopping your happiness and success, and what's the toughest thing for you? This is a 5-step exercise where we create a journey map, a path between where you are now and this future vision that you've created for yourself. Here we look at all your obstacles, traps, and blocks to being where you want. And then we turn each obstacle into a stepping stone on your path to success, and then into a powerful strategy to move forward, including my favorite, the 2-degree shift. The final step in this process is where I want to spend the rest of today. I really only touched on this in the podcast back then, and now I want to expand on it as I think it's going to be so useful to you mid-year in the midst of the pandemic challenges. If you have the coaching tool in front of you already, then it's the last section, page 3.5. If you're listening in your car, or on your run, or doing the dishes, you can walk through it with me now, step by step, as we're going to expand on it and bring it to life right now. We start from where it says, your future self gives you the starting push on the journey. Right from your future self, looking back at yourself now at the start of this journey. And then I ask you to consider 4 questions. What does your journey from point A to point B look like from your future self's perspective? What were the most useful obstacles and stepping stones to examine first? What might be a good idea to stop doing? And what 2-degree shift could you make now that would make all the difference? Today, let's go back to this and write a fresh letter from your future self. Let's go back to the future. And as I love saying, there's no better time to do this coaching together. Well, there is no better time to do this future self work again. It's mid-year in one of the most unusual years ever. COVID-19 and a time of uncertainty and confusion. It might even feel strange to try and picture a future when we don't know practically what will be happening around us, and you might well be running into difficulties if you're picturing the practicalities of your life in your future vision. But one thing we can be sure of is ourselves at the end of 2020 or at that distant time of our future. We will be getting there. In a DeLorean at 88 miles per hour or not. And so while this tool is using the same technique as creating your future visioning, we're using visualization. It's nuanced, it's different, because we're looking at who you will be. So not at the circumstances of your life that you might want to change, but who you will be as a person. You can't be sure of what job you'll have, or what will be on the news, where you'll be living, what your kids will be up to exactly, but you most definitely can be sure of who you will be at the end of 2020. Who do you want your future self to be? This is what we're coaching on today. As a reminder, and if you want to go back and listen, we talked about the basics of visualization in episode 1.3, and then we explored the science behind it, the connection between mind and body in episode 1.37. And here we looked at how we can actually exercise our muscles with our minds, and we also looked at Roger Bannister's dream mile running, the 4-minute mile, how he used visualization. Let's go through this future self visualization together. Do it with me now. Well, as long as you're not driving. You will want to write it down and spend some time after this adding life to the future vision of who you'll be. First, you go to your goal. What are you wanting to achieve? The future that you really want to be living, your unique version of happy and successful. So it could be a new job or a promotion or a permanent work from home opportunity. It could be to navigate your child going off to study this year and being supportive and not clingy or worried. It could be reassessing your close relationships after the COVID-19 lockdown. And you want to make it very real, very visceral, as if you're living there right now. Create a detailed picture in your mind. Fill in all the details of this mental picture using your 5 senses. What were you seeing around you? What sounds were there? Any smells? What colors? Who were you with? What sensations are you noticing in your body? Now go inside to yourself, your inner world. What thoughts are going through your head? What emotions are you feeling? And can you expand on this? How many emotions can you link to this mental image? Got that picture? Now, who are you in this place? What kind of person are you who is living this future as the reality? What qualities do you see in yourself? Breathe deeply into these qualities. Say them out loud so you can expand into them. Perhaps you're kind, determined, calm, grounded, content, confident. Now we're going to tap into the wisdom of this future self. We're going to look back at your life now from this future place. And from the stance of your future self living the reality you most want, give your present self some advice. What's going well already that you should keep on doing? What's a good idea to stop doing from now? What could I start doing to make this journey easier, more enjoyable, more possible? What other advice would you give yourself? We usually think of advice as passing on wisdom from elder to youth, teacher to student, parent to child. We can do the same with our future self as the wise elder, our own mentor who's walked the path to your goal, and our present self as novice at the start of the journey. Let's stop here for a moment to find out how this tool works. Firstly, as I said, it harnesses the power of visualization. Olympic athletes are using it right now to train for Japan 2021, so why not you? The brain cannot tell the difference between a visualized result and if you have actually done it. That's why it's so powerful for athletes. Visualizing creates the evidence in your brain that you can do it, just like Roger Bannister. Then, if you want a different future, you have to practice detaching from yourself, your present self. So all your current thoughts, feelings, and actions, those TFA patterns, will be different in your future self who is living your goal. To achieve your goal, your present self's think, feel, act pattern needs to shift to a new think, feel, act pattern, that of your future self. In other words, your present self reflects on what you'll need to do to become who you want to be, and your future self reflects on what you've done to reach the point you'll be at. It's very clever. It really is back to the future, backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards. And lastly, the tool takes advantage of your brain's reticular activating system. This is a network of neurons in our brain stem, about 2 inches long and about as thick as a pencil. And the RAS controls our sleep and waking and our fight or flight responses. It acts as a gatekeeper to all the information coming in from our senses and decides what gets sent to our conscious awareness. So when you're using visualization, you're programming your RAS. You're telling it what's important to let through from the masses of information coming in from your senses. If we tell our brain what to look for on purpose and intentionally, we'll start noticing more of it, and this can help us shift our think, feel, act patterns and achieve our goals and dreams. Think about if you decide to buy a new car and choose your model and color, and then suddenly the roads seem full of this exact car. That's your RAS. Then your very last step in this tool is to put your future self letter somewhere special. You could keep it top of mind and look at it regularly or monthly or quarterly, or you could just seal the letter and put it away to find in the future. It's fun to read back on something written 5 years ago, even 10 years later. Imagine reading back on July 2020 in July 2030. Back to the future for sure. Or you could just read it at this time next year in July 2021 at the rescheduled Tokyo Olympics to see if you visualized as successfully as all of those amazing athletes. Perhaps you want to read it after you've gone through your menopause transition, or when your teenager has left for university, or you've retired. An easy way to store it so you don't forget it is to link to it in your digital calendar. Set a reminder for that day way in the future, and then tuck your letter into your digital archives. This works very well for me, and it's such fun on that day to get a reminder that it's time to read a past letter. So interesting. Alternatively, you can even upload it to a website called futureme.org, and they will email it back to you on the date you set. It's almost real Back to the Future time travel. So that's it for today. A deep dive into writing a letter from your future self about what to do about your happiness and success in midlife, no matter what. How to use visualization and our brain's RAS system to help us shift our think, feel, act patterns for our future. Don't forget to download all these free coaching tools from Happiness-Matters.coach, and I will link to the Future Me digital archive in this episode's show notes. Remember, if you want to coach with me individually, if you're wanting to take this coaching further and you're up for exploring your success and happiness at work, in relationships, in your midlife, please book a free insight session with me at Happiness-Matters.coach. I'd love to meet you. May you be happy, may you be free. There is no better time to do this coaching together. Bye for now, from the Back to the Future fourth, or maybe even the fifth dimension.
Thanks for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast. Do join us again here next week on Tuesday. You can subscribe to this series at Apple Podcasts on iTunes, or you can sign up for it on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. Also, you can join our conversation on Facebook by following us there. Our Facebook page is also Happiness-Matters.coach.